So a top roll is really all about the leverage, okay? So for a given strength level, where you're putting pressure on your opponent's hand and arm is going to result in more torque, because torque is equal to force times distance, right? So if you apply your force at a greater leverage point, you apply more torque. So the main leverage point that we have to consider for a top roll is the leverage point from the wrist, and once you close your fingers, the leverage point from the knuckles. So from the knuckles, if I can get further out into his hand, into his fingers, and apply my torque into his fingertips, I'll more easily be able to fold his fingers back. And similar with his wrist, the further I force out from his wrist,
the easier it'll be to peel his wrist back.
So there are two main ways we can achieve height in a top roll. One is by going knuckles high. This is where you push your knuckles high and just barely not covering thumb knuckle. And what you want to do in this setup is a riser pressure. I'm applying a force from the top knuckle up and over his thumb. Up and over, so this diagonally towards the corner of the table through that top knuckle. So you want to set up nice and high, elbow goes to the front, so I push my elbow to the front. That means I can get more of a vertical forearm to achieve higher top knuckle. If I have my elbow down like this, my knuckle drops down and I can't achieve as much height, and it's harder to pronate through that top spot. So elbow to the front, knuckle up nice and high. I want to be on the positive side of neutral with my cup. So the cup position at the start is probably the most common mistake I see new arm wrestlers make. They will often set up with their wrist slightly cranked backwards, or even just completely straight, but even backwards is pretty common. And the issue with that being when it's backwards is it's very easy to pronate through their cup. So what you have to do is be on the positive side of neutral with your cup. But you can see here when our hands aren't straight to the side of the table. So what you have to do is push your elbow in towards the center of your chest and then rotate out around so that now his hand is flat to the side of the table for a legal start. But he's got the positive side of neutral with his cup. So now if I try and pronate out, I'm just pronating into his cup, and it's a lot harder. So again, we're going to put our elbow to the front, knuckles up nice and high, positive side neutral with our cup, and I'm proning and rise up and over his thumb. Once you achieve height, you've got two choices. You can either keep pronating, or you can go for a high hook and get your cup in from that top spot. Because you've dominated the top spot, you can really choose whichever one feels best. You're trying to move into an absence of pressure on behalf of your opponent. So wherever you feel the absence of pressure, that we generally want to move into. So for a low hand, instead of going for high knuckles, again, and I don't really like calling it a low hand, because for me it's high thumb. So you're going from this setup to high thumb. So a lot of people, when they hear about a low hand, you want to drop your hand down, right? But that's terrible, because again, the leverage point is from the wrist. So the further down towards the wrist you are when you're trying to pronate, the worse it's going to be able to apply. So for Moses, he needs to bring his thumb up and back, and then if he has his hand up high, you can see he's going to cover my thumb knuckle, right? So you just drop your hand down just enough so that he's not going to cover my thumb knuckle. You just want to see that thumb knuckle. And now that his thumb is really high, it minimizes my own cup around his pronation. So you pronate from this line, going from the top knuckle down through this part of his wrist. So the less I have my fingers around that pronation chain, the less I can cut it off. So that's what he wants to achieve as a top roller.
So a high thumb top roll is
really trying to maximize your ability to pronate. by minimizing your opponent's ability to cut. So if pronation is a key win condition for you, a high thumb top roll is a really good option, as opposed to a low hand.
It's right at my fingertips and my hand's going to go.
So other tricks with a low hand, sometimes you want to, it depends whether you want to go for a cup-based high thumb top roll or if you're going for a out the back door. So if you're going out the back door, you want to maximize separation between your thumbs. So when you close your thumbs, close your hands, there's minimal coverage around the cup. So that's basically putting all your eggs in the basket of pronation, and you don't really care about too much else. A cup-based high thumb top roll is when you're deeper, and when we close, you're still trying to activate your cup as well as getting your pronation activated. So those are the two kind of main styles of top roll. And once again, high thumb top roll, you're rising and pronating up and over the top of their thumb, or high thumb, you're backing your thumb up into their cup to minimize their coverage so that you can pronate through their fingers more easily.